In this video, we're going to talk all about painting textures onto our terrain. So the first thing we need to learn to do is to make a paint layer for our terrain. So select your terrain, and I've already imported my textures, but I'm going to show you guys how to use textures that you import to create these layers, and also how to make the textures themselves. But let's learn how to create our paint layers. So with our terrain selected, we're going to go into Paint Terrain and then set it to Paint Texture. And then what we're going to do is, let me get rid of this old layer that we had. We're going to go to Edit Terrain Layers and go to Create Layer. And then the easiest thing to do, since there's so many textures in this project, is look for what texture you want to create, name it something, remember what you named it. And I'm going to type in rock, and I think I liked rock soft. So select the color version and not the normal, your albedo. Double click it, and now we have a new thumbnail right here. Let's click our thumbnail. We can see that we don't have a normal map attached. So let's fix that. Let's type in rock once more, and then this rock soft normal right here, I'm going to select it and then just drag it over to my normal, or just select it, and we're good there. All right. And what I'm going to do now is, I think that's basically it. So once you add your normal map to it, now you have a color that you can paint, as you can see right here. Now, if you want to create your own terrain textures, let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to bring over Google, and let's make a rock texture. So to type in rock texture, and I want to find a nice craggy rock, something that's got deep rivets, because I have a soft one. I want something that's a little bit more craggy. So there's cgtextures.com that you can use as well, or just textures.com. And you can type in different things right from here. And you need an account. I've already used all my credits today, so you can get like 15 downloads a day for free. There's plenty of stuff there, but if you were just going off the cuff, trying to grab anything, I keep getting pulled back to this. All right, 1024 by 686. We're going to be making 1024 by 1024 textures. That's about as good as we're going to get. So let's see, can we open this image in a new tab? Perfect. So what I like to do is just drag and drop textures straight to my desktop. And then let's open it up in Photoshop. We're going to first get it at the resolution that we need. So we'll go to Edit, or Image, Canvas Size, and let's set our pixels to 1024. And I'm going to scale and extend that from the top left-hand corner. Perfect. Next, why don't we duplicate some of this? Maybe not. Let's duplicate some of the top half. Control C, Control V will duplicate this into a new layer. Let's go down to our layers right here, select both of them. Control E will combine our layers. And then let's use our clone stamp brush over here. And then the bracket keys next to the letter P for penicillin. These control your brush height real quick. Hold down the Alt key to bring up this little target crosshair. Click anywhere that you want to clone from. So I'm going to click on the edge up here, and then I'm just going to just paint across, and it'll just clone out that detail. And That looks too similar right next to each other, so I'm going to go in and clone that out too. All right, so now that we've got our image up to 1024, let's make it seamless by going to Filter, and we're working with one layer right now. We'll go to Other, and we'll do an offset, and set that offset to 512 by 512. And what that will do is it'll kind of shift things and mirror it over. So now this is mirror duplicated. That means we can seamlessly tile it end to end. But now our seams that we normally would see are in the middle right here. And then that's just more clone brush. I'll select Alt from over here and just draw that down. Alt for my target right there. Just draw it across. Let's do a little bit better. You have to line it up. And I can see some repeated patterns already going on. So what I'm going to do is go in and refine it a little bit. That black vertical line right there, that's just not doing it for me. So you can almost create your own textures with the clone stamp. Be careful when you use the clone stamp, you get something too close over here. You'll start seeing that it'll pick up this little seam right there because it hit the border that you were aiming from. Let's see. So just vary the texture as much as you can with what you got. But don't touch the borders because that'll ruin the tiled effect. All right. Let's grab that. Put it right there. And we'll do a crack right above that. Okay, perfect. So now we have a completely seamless tileable texture. We got rid of some of the more repeatable, noticeable patterns. It's pretty noisy at this point, pretty craggy. Next, we're going to make our normal map from it. So with my Quixel Endo Suite open, I don't know if you know about this tool, but you should. We'll click on Endo to open up the Endo Project tab. We'll select the layer that we want to work with. And then instead of creating a new project or a new anything, we'll just quickly go up into our little thing right here, our little settings menu, and go to Photo Normal Presets, which will bring up this menu. And there's a few presets that we already have. So let's find the closest thing to like a rock wall that is included. Flat cliff, mega cliff. Let's do that one. And then select active document. So with our settings selected, Endo is going to do its magic, create a new tab, and it's going to give us a pretty good normal map straight from the photo here. So there we go. If you want to refine this normal a little bit, you can open up 3Do. Let's size it down a little bit. 3Do is such a weird little tool there. So if we grab the corner, we can size that down. If we go to Import tab, right here, let's save this. Don't forget to save this as a JPEG or a PNG. I'm doing JPEGs right now for file size. The PNGs are probably the best bet for the lossless information. We'll call this Rock Craggy. And I save that to my desktop. So now I can go back to my 3Do. Where are you? Let's bring back 3Do. There we go. Just brought it back. We can go to import now and go to our albedo ... Let's turn that on. And let's assign it the Rock Craggy JPEG. So now you can actually see the texture on this wall. And look at that. You can, with a shift and right click, you can see the normal map really working there. Now, if you wanted to touch this up a little bit, you can. So let's go back into Endo right here and select the layer down here called whatever preset for, so Mega Cliff. And then you can tweak the different channels that we have right here. So if I turn down Chiseled Rock really low and Huge Cliffs really low, Big Cliffs really low, then we're not getting as much variation. So I want to turn on those big and mega cliffs. If you accidentally click into one, you can even come in and tweak each individual channel there. And then press the up arrow to go up. So play with your slidings. Preview your work over here. And then when you're done with your normal map, just save it as a JPEG as well. JPEG, rock, craggy, and then let's do an underscore normal. All right, let it do its thing. So we now have, let's close out of Endo now in Photoshop. I've already saved these as JPEGs. You can see my two rocks there. There's my source. We'll get rid of it. Now I have a rock craggy and a rock normal. If we were going to import this into Unity now, this is the easiest way would just be to I have all these ground textures here. I would create an empty group probably here. We can go to create folder. This is if you've never don't have your own ground textures. And then I'm just going to drag and drop both of these onto the folder where I'm going to put them. So onto ground textures. So now we can go to rock. I have rock craggy and rock craggy normal now. So that's how you can import textures into Unity. So we're going to use that rock craggy to create a new base paint layer. I'm going to keep that first one I made maybe. It's called new layer. Let's see. If you want to go in and rename your layers, then just go to, I think the easiest way would be to just search for it by name. So new layer is like the default name that it's given right there. So you can just do a search for new layer at the root of your assets here. You can do new layer. It'll bring up new layer right here in the project window. Single click on it. We can call this rock soft. Perfect. So now let's create a new layer for our base paint. So we'll go to edit layers, create layer. I'm going to type in rock crag. I'm going to select my new layer. There it is. See how they just call it new layer each time. And let's select its normal map. Rock craggy normal. And then for a base layer, I like to do something with a big tile size. So 2 is not enough. Let's do 10. That way we can just see it applied to all this stuff. And if it doesn't automatically apply, then just get a big old brush and just paint it everywhere. What we can see with what this size does, so it's at 10 right now. We set that to 1, see how small it would be, see how much we can notice the repeated patterns. So I like my base layers to be pretty big. I'm going to try 20. So when you're on the ground, it's not as noticeable. And we'll do variation on the rock sides as well. The next thing we got to tackle, my brush size is making me upset, is the stretching that we see here. That's not anything that our textures have done. That's just the way that we've sculpted the terrain. And we've just stretched out the geometry so much that it stretches the textures. So the best thing to do here would be just to go to smooth height and just smooth that down. See how when we actually smooth the height of things, the textures get a little bit sorted. So go back in and tweak those, that smooth, just so things don't look ridiculous. And then, you're going to have to be going in between different modes here quite often. It's not just a sit and forget thing. So constantly reevaluate what you're making, fix things that get messed up. Don't let the project get away from you. So I needed to smooth more from back here, it looked like. So let's increase there we go. It's a lot better. And if you were really paranoid, let's go back to our paint texture. I'm wondering, you can play with your tiling settings till things look just right. I'm not liking how obvious some of this is. I'm going to have to go in and tweak this rock. We'll get to that in a second. But I'm going to go in and paint some grass. So I'm going to go in and create a new layer. We'll say grass. And let's do grass rocky. Select its normal map. Grass rocky normal. And I'm going to create a few different grasses. Grass thick, because nothing's worse than painting a bunch of textures on here and there's just no variation, and you can definitely see the repetition of stuff. Grass thick normal, and I think I have a grass mud. So I got a thick grass, a rocky grass, and a muddy grass. And I may even pull in my hay because it looks like dead grass, dead mud normal. And let's create a hay. And just type in hay normal. All right, so let's start out with some nice grass. So I'm going to select my grass, and you can lower and expand this, because you may have to come back in and check its tiling size, and you may want to go in and change its shininess with its specular and metallic, all that stuff. All right, so I'm going to hide that for now and just focus on painting. I'm going to give a soft brush. I want to give 100% opacity, and we're just going to go in and kind of paint in some grass just to see what we're working with here. Let's lower my brush size. So if we get down to the ground, all right, looks pretty good. Looks about the size that we want it. Let's get my FPS controller here, and he's way up here. Let's hold down the V key and snap him down to here. Then press F to zoom in on him. And let's press play and see how our textures are looking. The grass seems to be the right scale, so that's looking good, and the rock seemed fine. And let's show how we can do some grass variation. So I'm going to grab this pebbly grass and get a noisy brush, and we'll just paint in. You know what? Let's lower the opacity down to about 70. And I guess what I want to do is maybe when it gets closer to the mountainside is when it gets to be like that dirty grass. So we'll go back over and change it. And then let's grab my rock again and fix that. Get this grass from growing on the side of the mountain. I'm going to grab this other mountain that I did. Still 100% opacity. Let's just change it up. Another way to kind of change things up using the same textures, we'll create a new layer. Let's see. Create a new layer. And I'm going to pick the same rock, craggy. Yep, the same texture. You'll see it gives us another one. And let's expand it. Let's attach its normal map there. Crag. But this one's going to have a size of 5 instead of 20. So we can get in and start painting some variation in the side of that rock mountain with the same texture. And just switch back and forth. See how that's really just breaking up the monotony and the rhythm? Using the same texture, we just have a different tiling size. That brown doesn't look the best. But I guess you could keep using it if you lower its opacity. And we would need to increase its scaling to, let's say, to 10. These brush sizes are so finicky. So you see we're getting just nice variation here and there. That really makes stuff come alive in your level. Because it helps keep people immersed in the experience. They don't automatically just see a big old. We can do some muddy grass in places, maybe near trees. That brush is way too big. Oop. So just play around and paint. I'm going to have fun and paint a little bit. I'll be right back. So I'm just painting around things. I got my hay brush on a very low opacity. And I'm pulled out. As you can see, I'm kind of just using it to use it as kind of a color variation. Be sure only to paint where you need to. And I've just been going around the edges here, using the muddy grass. I transition the grass more to the rocky crags, and then coming in with a rock and just kind of blending them in together. So it looks like the grass kind of just gradually starts growing on the rock and then just drops off when it loses soil. Probably not going to see much of this going on the front there. I'll be right back. I'm going to keep painting my grass. Something to note is instead of changing the brush size, you can just zoom in and out. And it'll help. You can kind of fake the size of the brush to match when you're zoomed in a little bit. It keeps mainly the same shape. You can always be aware of that. Oh yeah, so we got this to think about. I'm probably going to have to come in and make a mud brush for this. Looks like I need to raise my terrain right there. This is where my little item is going to be. Let's go to smooth height. I must have got lost in the shuffle. There we go. Let's paint the texture. Just add a little bit of thick grass. See, with a nice, combining the brush fall off with a really faint opacity like at 10, you can blend some stuff really nicely together. And they just look more natural when you just blend things together like that. And let's just do a muddy. Make sure it's muddy when it kind of gets to the pond. Raise my opacity a little bit. And when I get my final water shader in here, you're not going to be able to see the bottom of this really, so I'm just going to keep it nice and rocky under there. Maybe let some of the rock kind of start showing up onto the shore. It's just real subtle touches that you do that make things turn good. Hopefully that little green oasis right there will attract the player to it. And it's just adding more variation. You can. See how I'm just switching between a lot of things. I'm just clicking. And it's just letting me vary up my paint. All right. So I got some more textures I want to create my market path. I have some cobblestone grassy. Let's do cobblestone square. And let's assign its normal map. Alright, and let's see what cobblestone is looking like. Let's do a 100%. Let's paint it in and test. You can see my grassy variation doing a decent job. And now I have some nice paved cobblestone streets to walk down. So I'm going to finish painting that out. Alright, I've painted my cobblestone path from the market all the way up the mountain path leading to the cathedral. Let's see what that looks like. It's starting to come together. Cobblestone. I might want to flatten this area out. See how I have some variation? Doesn't look very cobblestoney, but get a nice little path up. Yeah, and the careful thing is to kind of just go one direction. So if you're going to be using this technique, make sure the variation's not too crazy for what you're actually trying to paint. Alright, so let's paint my cathedral grounds next. I've got this cobblestone grassy layer I just created, and we're just going to come in and start painting like this nice fancy cobblestone grass to the cathedral here. We'll kind of hide its separation right in the hedges there. Yeah, you'll definitely have to come back and touch up some textures here and there for how this chooses to kind of play out whenever you are putting in your finished assets. I'm not exactly sure where vegetation is going to go yet, where most things are going to go yet. I guess I forgot to add the grass up here. Let's make a big brush. I'll be right back. Alright, and let's use this dirty grass to blend between the cobblestone and the thick grass. There we go. See, I got a grass that has rocks in it, so it's like the cobblestone is just deteriorated after a while. We'll come in here and put patches where it's just kind of getting a little bit more dirty than cobbly. Just real random splotches here and there. Let's get a little bit bigger brush. Let's bring it back. Alright. Let's do the same right here. Let's blend this cobblestone and this grass together. Just click, 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 click. Go back and grab some grass. Yeah, put some mud in there. Make some hay up in there. Turn down the opacity. Just do everything you can to blend things together. There we go. All right, I'll probably refine it a little bit more here and there, but you got the basic gist of how to paint in some stuff for your terrain.